Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Overcoming Graduation with Brian Drury, a show where I work to teach you everything I wished I'd known about habits and mindset to help you begin creating your dream life starting today. Today is another installment of the Morning Commute, where I take my ride to work in the morning to share a short but powerful message with you to help you kick your day off on the right foot. And today's message is this: current past reality. As I talked about in my most recent episode, I was just down in Mexico for a buddy's wedding. We went to an all-inclusive resort down in Cabo San Lucas, had an absolute blast of a time. And it was something that was very important for me for a number of reasons, beyond just the fact that it was celebrating my buddy's wedding and seeing him celebrating love. Him and his wife have a fantastic relationship. They look wonderful together. And it's one of those things that you can't ask for anything better than to see your friends happy and fulfilled and connected and in a loving, supporting relationship that's also going to challenge them and push them. Like, you want to be with and see your friends with people that are going to lift them up, but also aren't going to accept their bullshit. They're not going to let them stay down in the dumps or let their negative voices take over. That they're going to see their greatness even in those moments where a person is having the trouble seeing it themselves. So seeing that they have this fun, playful relationship, but they're also working hard, is beautiful. And they're having a blast on their honeymoon right now. Now, an interesting thing about this trip was, I'm headed to Mexico, right? And being an American going down to Mexico, what's one of the first things you hear? Don't drink the water. Be careful. Why shouldn't we drink the water? Well, unless you want to be running to the bathroom with the good old Montezuma's Revenge. And if you don't know what it is, basically imagine just sitting on the toilet for a lot of time or running to the toilet. And that's about as graphic or detailed as I'm going to be, because beyond that, you pretty much get it. And as I've learned more about this stuff, and especially I spent 3.5 years traveling 50% plus for my job. I lived in other countries. I went to countries all over the world. It was an incredible experience. But also, being a person who for most of my life struggled with stomach issues, it was challenging at times. And then when I had 2 abdominal surgeries, got my appendix removed in Paraguay, got my gallbladder taken out back home, and where I was living at the time was North Carolina, I had a lot of side effects and complications, not necessarily complications, I feel like that's the wrong word, but side effects from the surgeries that very much affected my ability to process and digest foods. Now, the other thing is, what I learned about is when you go to different countries, and the reason the water can be quote-unquote dangerous is because it contains bacteria and organisms that our bodies aren't used to, like your water that you drink normally. Especially in the U.S., we're throwing in chlorine and stuff that actually kills off a bunch of the things that we might get in other places. But there are things in the air. There's things just in nature itself, and the grass and the trees. And then in the water and the food, there are organisms that live there, that the bacteria and things that our bodies aren't accustomed to, and can cause our bodies to overreact and go, whoa, geez, let's clear this out. And you can imagine what that clear out process looks like. So don't visualize it. For the love of God, please don't. So I'm learning all this stuff. And for a while, I had a real hard time traveling. In fact, at the end of the 3 years when I had those surgeries, there was the 2.5 year mark when I had the surgeries. There was a 9-month period where traveling was hell. I needed to constantly have stomach medicines. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'll spare you that. But I constantly had to have medicines. I was terrified of being far from a bathroom because obviously, I'm just going to put it out there, guys. Let's just be frank. Nobody wants to shit their pants, right? Especially when you're traveling or you're on a work trip and you're far from home or you're on your way to the office for the day. You don't want to have to deal with that. So I have medicines to help take care of it, but I felt very dependent on them. And when I had my gallbladder surgery in particular, the appendectomy itself was pretty mild, all things considered. And it was even done in Paraguay, like I said. So my recovery was probably even longer than it would have been in the U.S., and yet no big deal. After a month, back to working out, I was moving around, no problem. But the gallbladder had a much longer, 9 months of intense side effects And then even several months after that were like medium, took a long time for my body to reacclimate. And so at that time, travel was hard. I was like, oh, I need to have my medicines with me. I was very dependent on the medicines. I pretty much was guaranteed to wake up and go to sleep with intense stomach and chest and lower back and upper back cramps that were generated from like gas, basically gas-related cramping all over, that I woke up to and went to bed with just about every day. And it was miserable. Lots of pain, constantly dealing with this, dependency on medicine. And I was afraid to take trips, and I was afraid to go out and travel. Whereas early in my career with this job, when I was traveling, I would say, yeah, let's go check that out. All right, let's go. Oh, we have to take a bus an hour out to get to this place to explore this. Cool, let's go. By the end of my time at that role, I was like, nah, I'm just going to chill at the hotel, or I'll walk around like close by the hotel. I wanted to feel comfort more than I wanted to take the risk of being in an uncomfortable situation or not having a bathroom available. And I bring all these things up. I know some of you might be like, well, Brian, Jesus, the morning commute. Like, we don't need to hear about your bowel issues. There's a reason. We're getting there. So I had all this fear. And at that time, I had to be very careful about what I ate. My body was more sensitive to fats and greasy things. I had to be more conscious of where I was going and how much time I was out, hydration, having medicines available, all of these different things. And what was interesting was I was living in a reality that was very much based in fear. Fear of having a pain attack, fear of not sleeping, fear of shitting my pants, fear of all these different things that could potentially happen associated with this thing that had happened in the past. And then, here's the real interesting reality. When I started to live my current life in a past reality, because over time, I got through that period. My body no longer had those extreme responses. And also, thanks to coaching and thanks to reading and books and listening to podcasts and audiobooks, I learned about different ways to take care of my body, and actually just discovered that really one of the primary things I needed was to take care of my gut biome. And I learned how important that was. I started taking probiotics and prebiotics. I learned what those were. My roommate taught me about them, and then I started reading about them. A supplement that I highly recommend is Onnit's Total Gut Health. That was a game changer for me, because I didn't realize that I've heard 80 to 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. I've heard about the neural connective tissue, or the neural tissues that are based in the heart. It's like, and then you get down into all these different areas. We used to put so much emphasis on the brain, but now they're seeing how critical your hormone production is from your gut, and all these different things. And my body has been communicating with me for years, like, hey, Brian, something's off. We need your help. We need your attention. That's where the pain was coming from. That's where the discomfort was coming from. And now realizing it's like after those surgeries and all the antibiotics, it's like I needed to rebuild and bring back the healthy gut bacteria to take care of myself, help with my sleep, help with my serotonin production, all these different things. But it was so interesting when I actually took a check-in with myself and I looked at the way I was living my life. I was living in the past in a big way, because people would say, hey, Brian, do you want to go on this trip? And how far is it? 2-hour drive. I lived in the same fear I had in a reality that no longer existed. Oh man, I'll need to make sure I have my medicine. And what if, I'm not driving and I need to go to the bathroom and something's like this? What if I end up getting one of those pain attacks again and they're so painful I can't talk, and people are going to think I'm dying, and I just can't explain. I just need to ride it out. That underlying story started to become my default. So I started saying no to a lot of life. And then when it came to travel, I was like, all right, just eat the safest possible foods, the things that have the absolute lowest possible chance of triggering my stomach, or of having, some bacteria in it that's going to throw me off. It was play safe and play scared in a lot of ways. Now, other areas of my life, I was going big, I was pushing, but in the travel, the exploration, the spontaneity, the experiential portion of my life, just getting out and trying new things, that was it was fear and safety. And safety was trying to stay as much in my control as possible. And when you say so in your control, you close off so many opportunities for growth, for exploration, for unseen beauty to come your way, unexpected miracles. And so instead of staying stuck in that fear and that past reality, I said, okay, what do I need to do to take better care of my body, take better care of my gut? What can I do to improve this? Because for a long time, I just accepted this is my reality now, and I'm going to wake up with these pain attacks randomly, and there's no way to control it. One of my coaches showed me mental exercises to start to take back control, and also help me. I said, it's totally random. And he said, is it really? Think about it. And so I journaled on it, I looked into it, and I started to see what the triggers were. And then I said, okay, based off those triggers, what are the things I need? Is it supplementation? Is it breathing exercises? I started to learn all these ways to control it and remove the dependency on the medicine. Because I was essentially telling myself my body is not capable of handling it by itself, so I need medicine to support it, but I never want to live in that reality. Anytime I've taken pills or medication, I don't want to be stuck on Oxycontin after a dental surgery. Like, all right, I'm going to need it for a time to get through the initial pain, but as quickly as possible, I want to be off that stuff because it numbs me to the real world. And so when I went down to Mexico, I said, you know what, man, I'm going for it. I had my Onnit gut health supplements. I was like, and I don't want to take any medicine. I don't want to be walking around with this stuff like I need this, my safety blanket, my safety net. Like, I'm going to try foods. I want to eat the guac and the salsa, even though I know it's got raw onions and things that could potentially set off my system or are higher probability things that could be carrying bacteria, all this stuff. I said, I don't want to be thinking from that perspective. I want to be just present and enjoy it and have fun. And you know what? If it sets me off, so be it. You know what? Then I know, hey, all right, the salsa did it. And the salsa was really good. So if I'm going to have it again, I know what the result's going to be. And it was such a freeing place that the gut health supplement is incredible. Prebiotics, probiotics, it balances the hydrochloric acid levels in your stomach. It's fucking phenomenal. So it's $37 for a 15 count. I take it every other day. Phenomenal. Just, if you have stomach issues and gut issues, I would say don't even think about it. Just pull the trigger because it is one of the best supplements I've ever found. And so I start living not from a place of fear, but from a place of curiosity and exploration. And then in that exploration, I find joy, I find peace, I find excitement, I find connection. And I'm not limiting myself. People are like, one of the things we did was we rented a catamaran and went out to the Cabo San Lucas Arch and went snorkeling. And in the past, I would, oh man, all right, it's a 40-minute drive to Cabo. And then we're going to be on the boat for 3 hours. Oh, what if they don't have a bathroom on the boat? What about this? What about that? And I'm like, you know what? All right, hey, if you're really scared, bring the medicine if you really need to. But if you don't, just leave it. And I started walking around without it. And it's letting go of dependency. And the reason I tell this story is not to tell you about some graphic stomach issues and then medicine and supplements. It's about a much bigger picture issue, and a much bigger thing was that I was creating dependencies and limitations that didn't need to exist because at one point they existed in my life. At one point I did have to limit my physical activity, and I did have to extremely limit the greasy, fatty foods. And I did have very intense responses if I did eat those foods. But that's no longer the reality. And so by choosing to continue to live in it, I continue to live in my past. But by choosing to challenge that and say, nah, I don't think that's how it's going to go. And say, I'm curious, let's play, let's have some fun, let's see what happens. I'm opened up again to new incredible experiences. I had some of the best times of my life down in Cabo with all my friends there. And it's like with my buddy and all his family and everything. It's like, we had a fucking blast. And I got to eat incredible food. And lo and behold, didn't take the medicine once. I had my supplements. I did not eat well. I didn't eat like safe. Like I was, beer and blue Hawaiians and fruity crushed ice drinks and eating a breakfast the size of like my day's worth of meals back home. It's like, I ate like crap. But I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm choosing this. And in doing that, there was freedom. I used to think that having routines and having the perfect routine was the only way I was going to be happy. What I found is I want to create extreme, intense discipline with certain routines so that I create freedom outside of that. It's something Jocko Willink says, discipline equals freedom. And now it's like, all right, hey, I'm gonna stay extremely focused and intense in these areas so that I can create time to just explore and play and have fun. And guys, in your life, I guarantee it, because we all do this, you're living in a past reality now. You're telling yourself that you were this person, and that's that in the past, and that's who you are now. You are not the same person. I just heard Joe Rogan say this in a YouTube video, because you're not the same person you were even 2 weeks ago, let alone 2 years ago. You're not the same person. You don't have to be defined by that reality anymore, even whether that's talking to someone that you're romantically interested, going asking a girl on a date, whether that's going to, oh, I have that injury. It's like, do you still have it? Or did you have it? It's like, yeah, I've always wanted to take jujitsu. It's like, well, go take jujitsu. Put on a knee brace. I know plenty of guys doing that. It's like, if you want to be more involved at work, if you want to have conversations with certain people, it's like you don't have to live in the reality you live in. Oh, I'm an anxious person. No. Mel Robbins says in the book, The 5 Seconds Rule, you are not an anxious person. You have a habit of choosing anxiety. You have a habit of engaging in anxiety. So you can choose to live in that or say, okay, I want to change this. I can change this. What do I need to learn? Where do I need to go? That's been a huge focus of mine this year. And the game has changed entirely because I went from a place where I felt like I had crippling, unbearable anxiety to I control the game now. And I know what I need to do. And if I don't do those things, anxiety can come up. Yeah. So, but that's my choice and I'm in control of that situation. So where in your life are you living your current life in a past reality? And what is one step you could take today to, 1, recognize it, 2, challenge it, and 3, start learning what you need to learn or doing what you need to do to reshape that reality. I love you guys. As always, it is great talking to you. That is all for today's episode. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play so you can get the most up-to-date episodes in the palm of your hand right away. And if you'd like to reach out to me directly to recommend interviewees, to contact me about a question, about something that I shared, or one of the resources, I'd love to hear from you, and you can contact me at brian@overcominggraduation.com. I love you guys. It is fantastic to talk to you. I love sharing these messages. I love connecting with you. And I'll be talking to you again real soon.